Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, good morning and welcome into a Football Friday here as we get set for a big weekend of college and pro football. And I see Nick Gaddis has his creamsicle on for the Lions game, and he's going to the game in his hopefully your bell bottoms and your satin shirt down to the navel. Yep, and the peace sign around your neck. You got to go all hippied out. That's what Carlton Davis said. Don't remember, people, it's a 70s vibe. So bring your creamsicles and everything else. Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I can't wait. I got the Rondé Barber creamsicle that's been in the back of the closet for a long time.
Nice.
It's coming out for Sunday, and I can't wait. Especially the fact that they flex the game. It just feels like a big deal. We're going to be in front of the public eye of the NFL community, and I can't wait to get there, as I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'll be in the sterile atmosphere of the press box, unfortunately, but I'm definitely going to try to get there a little bit early and just walk around and get a vibe for what's going on. And I hope there's not a lot of this. I kind of screwed up wearing powder blue today. I didn't even think about it being Lions colors, but I got my Bucko Bruce back there. I got my Bucko Bruce. That's
impressive.
So I'm bringing the creamsicle today. So yeah, I'm unfortunately, I think like the Eagles game and like every other Bears game, we're going to see a lot of Lions fans down here, unfortunately, especially with them at 4-1.
Did you see what they did to Lambeau last time they were on the road?
No.
And they took over Lambeau Field.
Wow, Lions fans did?
Yeah, when they played the Packers on that Thursday night. And
a shorter trip, but yeah.
Wow, shorter trip. But they were like, we're going to do this. They already said we're going to try to do this in Tampa. And why wouldn't you? The weather's great. It's going to be awesome. And I went to a Lions game, 2017, 2018? It was like a day before Christmas. It was like a Christmas Eve game, I think.
Yeah.
And it was like 50-50 split, Bucs and Lions fans. So they travel. So I'm expecting there to be a lot of them here.
I'm kind of on that, that's not cool, but it is part of the reality of what Tampa Bay has become. It happens at Lightning games too, not to the degree it happens in the other stadiums, but this is a tourist destination. It's a tourist destination. It kind of comes along with it, but for big time games like this, 425, the Eagles game on Monday night, it's a little embarrassing. You don't see that in Philadelphia. That's for damn sure. There ain't, it's not 40% Buccaneer fans when we go up there. It's just not. But I'd get it with we talked a little bit about this in the Eagles game. The tickets are expensive. People want to they can make half of what they spent on season tickets back in one game. And the worst part about it is it's the snowball effect, is that fans, who really want to go will sell their tickets because they don't want to be surrounded by Eagles fans or Lions fans. And that's horrible. Like, they even want to go, but you're fighting an uphill battle. Like, I want to go, but none of my friends are going. None of my fellow season ticket holders are going. So why should I be the only one in the middle of these a-holes, So I don't know. I don't know the answer to this except for, when the Buccaneers organization, I know they monitor what's sold and what's not, but it's supply and demand. They want the ticket sold one way or another. They want the ticket sold. So I hate it that fans do it, but it's part of it. I get it.
Yeah, but I think, though, for this, even though I think there'll be a Lions presence, I was thinking 70-30 because I still think the creamsicle, I think it's a big draw. I think people are excited for this week. They've been waiting for it. We've been calling for the creamsicle for a decade.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. I hope it's a predominantly orange crowd in this game. I really hope so.
When the schedule came out, the tickets went fast. I mean, everybody said
these were. If you look at the tickets on StubHub, Ticketmaster, all the third-party sites, this game, other than I think the Monday Night Eagles game, was the most expensive Bucs game of the year too. So that tells you right there.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's because there's a lot of outside money coming in, buying up the tickets, or the tickets went quickly and people want to, bring their creamsicles. Let's hope that's it. Let's hope that's it. Let's hope that it's more creamsicle orange than it is powder blue. So Let's hope so. As far as the game goes, though, Amon-Ra St. Brown looks like he's going to play their top receiver, which is good for my fantasy. That's about it. He's going to play. Mike Evans still not practicing. We'll see what happens this morning. This morning's probably the biggest tell if he's out at practice and running around. To me, though, this game comes down to one thing, and that's stopping the run. The Bucs have got to stop the run. The Lions are the third best running team in the league in terms of attempts. You want to. Jared Goff's having a great year. He's been really good on third down. He's been good on every down. One of the highest rated passers in the game, and that's because he has a tremendous running game. Now, I don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs is going to play or be 100%. He's got a hamstring. That's a big deal. He's their explosive running back. They got Montgomery, who's been really, really good. So that's it for me. I want to see Devin White stick his nose in there, take on a blocker, shed him, and make a tackle. Might be the first time this year that happens, but he's going to have to do it. The Eagles targeted him, and the Lions are going to target him too in the running game. So right. He is the number one guy that has to step up for me.
Yeah, I like to see a little bit more splash plays, I think, just in general from the whole defense, but especially from, I guess, those two linebackers, Devin White and Levante David. Not that they've necessarily played bad this year, but I just mean things like fumbles, interceptions, things like that, sacks. I haven't really seen as much of that, I think, from those two guys, and that's going to be big, especially because the Lions have one of the best offensive lines in football. And so I'm expecting it to be pretty tough, even with Kalijah Kancey back in there. I mean, remember, he's played what, like 20 snaps total, if that? 11, right?
Snaps,
so I oversold it. He's played 11 snaps, so I know a lot of people are excited. I'm excited to see Kalijah Kancey, but this is a tough matchup for all those guys across the board. Yeah. And, my thing that sticks out to me with this game, the Lions almost, to me, they feel like what the Bucs are going after, like the way that they're designed. Like, they have a great running game, a true bell cow. That kid, as Dan Campbell said this week, a guy that he can count on to give him 20, 25, 30 touches a game. They have, I think, the number 7 ranked defense in the NFL, very physical, and they have a great pass rusher in Aiden Hutchinson, who's going to be a handful, probably for Gedeke and Mauk. I know everybody's hyping up him and Wirfs, but Hutchinson has only ran like 38 of his pass rushing snaps, I think, on that right side. So I would expect him to be over where Mauk and Gedeke are.
Especially after Gedeke kind of, I want to say he dissed him, but he didn't.
He
there was no reason. There's no reason to do that. He's got the most pressures of, I think, anybody in football this year. You don't need to do that.
Right.
No need to poke the bear. What are you doing?
Right. So my point there is they run the ball really well. They play really good defense. They're physical. And then they have a quarterback who distributes, I think, this year as well as anybody in the league right now. Yep. And doesn't that kind of sound like what Todd Bowles is trying to go for with his Buccaneer team? He wants to run the ball, he wants to play good defense, and he wants to have a really good distributor who doesn't turn the ball over at quarterback.
Of course.
Now, the Bucs have various degrees of that, but where they struggling the most is running the football.
Yep.
And that's going to be a big point of emphasis. But I think, and there's no surprise, by the way, that him and Dan Campbell share this philosophy. I mean, they were together on the Dolphins coaching staff, and both have a lot of admiration for each other. But I think, this is the thing for Bucs fans. If you want to see, I think, what Todd Bowles wants to get this team to look like, I think look no further than what the Lions are going to show you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, the Bucs have to match that physicality up front from the Lions. And the Lions have a couple of offensive linemen that are beat up, so that's good. And Kalijah Kancey is going to be a huge part of this too. If he can give the Bucs what we expect him to, which with the first round pick, talk about the penetration in the run game, the quickness off the ball in the pass game. He is tailor made for this game. And I wouldn't doubt that the fact that the Bucs said, look, let's target this game for him to come back. Let's get that calf 100%. Let's overdo it and not test him at all. Just get him ready for this game, because that's when we're going to need him. We're going to need him against Atlanta with that running game and Bijan Robinson. So they've got some games coming up that they need this run defense to really, really step it up. And, Vita Vea wasn't getting a whole lot of help. And I know he's been a little dinged up with the pec muscle. He has not played great this year because I think he's been a little injured and he hasn't gotten a lot of help. So what happened against the Eagles cannot happen. You cannot, you can't have Swift running for 9 yards a carry. You can't have Monty running for 9 yards a carry. That's game over. That is game over. If they control the ball like that, you're not going to be. First of all, they'll be scoring points. That sets up Jared Goff in the play action game. Everything works.
Right.
So if they come out in that first drive and they're running the ball at 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a clip, that's going to be very, very telling. That's going to be, and watch number 45. Yep. Watch 45. They'll be pulling guards and tackles and bump and doing bounce blocks on him, and he's going to have to make plays. And in the running game, and not 9 yards downfield.
And keep in mind, this is Ben Johnson, one of the most creative offensive coordinators in the league. They do a lot of really nifty stuff off play action and things like that. I've watched a lot of Lion football, probably because I have Goff and Sam Laporta in fantasy, and it's one of those bittersweet games this week because I want them to get theirs, but you want the Bucs to win. But speaking of Laporta, he popped up on the injury report yesterday out of nowhere with a calf injury.
Yeah.
And, you get something like that late in the week. Who knows? He might be a game time decision. That's a huge point in this game because not only has he been the best rookie tight end, he's been the best tight end in all of football this year.
Yep.
This Sam Laporta, and the impact he has in the run game, the impact he has in the passing game, that's a big deal. So obviously they're going to get Amon-Ra St. Brown back, but if by the event that he doesn't play in that game or he's less than 100%, I think that's a big help for this Bucs because, again, Ben Johnson is going to be very, very creative in this one, and it's going to be, I think, that chess match between him and Bowles. Yeah,
Laporta's a big key to this. And, again, linebackers and safeties have to cover the tight end, and that's been a bit of a bugaboo for the Bucs for a long, long time, right? So it's going to be a great game, and I think it's really going to tell a lot about this Buccaneer team. If they can pull off this win and get the 4-1, and don't forget, we're coming off a bye. You're at home. You're coming off a bye. It's not, it's going to be hot out there. Detroit's, you got a lot of advantages built into this game. They're a little bit more banged up than we are, that the Bucs are. So this is all going in your favor. Now go out there and don't make mistakes and get the W. That's this is a game that it's eminently winnable. The Lions are a good football team, but so are the Bucs. And you're at home, you're rested. Those are two big trends in the NFL. Coming off a bye week at home, the other team played the week before. Let's go.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good kind of litmus test to see where the Bucs are, where they stack up in the conference. Because I think we can agree they're not in the Eagles league. They're just not. That game probably could have been even more.
Oh, it should have been way more lopsided.
Yeah. Way more lopsided. But like
they were,
said,
1 for 5 in the red zone touchdown percent.
Right, and they had a couple interceptions, turnovers, things like that. So yeah, I think we all agree San Francisco's probably in their own tier. And then probably Philly's in their own tier, and then you probably put Detroit, and then you have, like I said last week, Tampa, Dallas, Seattle, the Rams, yada yada yada. So if the Bucs can somehow beat the Lions in this one, okay, that tells me that in theory, maybe they can't hang with San Francisco, and I don't know which team in the NFL honestly can.
Nobody.
Maybe they can't hang with the Eagles, but guess what? They stack up well against everybody else in the NFC. Yeah. That's what beating the Lions does for you. And it gives you a lot of confidence and before you go into another winnable game the following week against Atlanta and a chance to, I don't want to look too far ahead, but a chance to get to 5-1 before Buffalo, which would be fantastic. Give yourself some wiggle room. So I think the whole mantra
probably if you beat Atlanta, you have a 2-game lead at least in the NFC South.
Right.
With 2 games left to play against the Panthers. So
correct. And so that's what I'm saying. The whole mantra, I think, in the offseason of where the Bucs are going to do, I think, take care of business against the teams you should, and then steal a win or two against some of these bigger teams. Mm-hmm. And I think you'll win the division that way. And Detroit qualifies.
And you would say, winning at Minnesota and winning at New Orleans are 2 games that I think most of us had as L's on the schedule.
Right.
So, you're already ahead of the game. You get 2 road wins like that. And if you can get this one, your record is already impressive, but the wins that you have are even more impressive. So, and
it'd be a big confidence boost if you can win again against a top defense like this. Maybe if this is the game where the offense, puts together their complete performance that they've been looking for.
Yeah, which they haven't. They really haven't. There's still a lot of room to grow for this team. We're going to hear from Baker Mayfield in our next segment, which I think he had some really interesting things to say. And boy, he is on the run. This dude, especially last week, he was everywhere, doing a lot of different media. He's feeling himself, but I feel like he can handle it. He has got the savvy. He's got the experience. He knows what it's like to be in a fishbowl. He'll be able to dial in this week, and I expect him to be, every bit as good as he has been. Our reporter on the scene, Jeremy Lowe, says Laporta may not play. He also adds that Branch and Gibbs may not play as well, which helps their chances as well. Yeah, and of course, we haven't beaten them in a long, long time at home. All that is true, and let's hope it all comes true, because we'll take as many advantages as we can possibly get. But again, the Bucs have to take care of what they need to take care of, and that's they need to run the football. They need to be better at running the football. And hopefully, I think Rachaad White's getting better. I think the offensive line is getting more in tune with this running game. That takes a while. Running game is so much about timing and working together as an offensive line. So they should be better. They should be better this week. They've been getting incrementally better as the season has gone on. Started horrible, but they've been getting better. But they've gotten some big plays out of their receivers. Now, if Mike can't play, Trey Palmer has to step up. Devin Tompkins got to step up. And Chris Godwin's going to get fed a lot of targets, and rightfully so. So here we go. This is what it's all about. This is as big an NFL game, as you can. If you're the Buccaneers, the creamsicle, 425. Let's go. This is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait for it. And by the way, Peter Blake and I will be doing a post-game show on the field. So come to our YouTube channel after the game, our Facebook or Twitter. It'll all be up, same place you watch the show. You'll be able to call in and react as well. So watch us. We'll probably hit about 25 minutes, 25 minutes after the game. We'll get it going. So right after I get out of the press conferences and the locker room, then I can come out and kind of give you a feel for what the guys have said. So check that out after the game.
And jog my memory real quick, just because Jeremy brought it up, haven't beat Detroit at home in a long time, which, Jeremy, if you know the exact date, please chime in with that, because I'm curious. But going down memory lane here, and in honor of the old NFC North, because you were around for it, I was not up to date with my history. Who used to dominate this series between the Bucs and the Lions? Because I know that was the time.
The Barry Sanders years. The Barry Sanders years. They got and that was the Bucs were awful for a long, long time, and during that NFC North time, the Ernestine Norris time, as Chris Berman used to like to call it. They weren't. The Bucs just weren't good. They were Minnesota's bitch. They were Detroit's bitch. They were Chicago's bitch. We were just their bitch. I do remember, though, one of the first season I covered the Bucs was '97, and they beat the Lions in a playoff game in the final game at the great Houlihan's Stadium, also known as the Big Sombrero. So and that was kind of the impetus to the first Super Bowl run, right? That was the Bucs got Tony Dungy's second or third year of Dungy. Second year of Dungy. Final game at the Big Sombrero, and they beat up on I think Scott Mitchell, I think, was the quarterback for the Lions. And it was kind of a low scoring game. I think it was like 19-6 or something like that. Then the Bucs went up to, I believe Green Bay the next week. And that was the Sapp 3.5 sack game. Sapp and Favre going back and forth. I was up there for that one. I think that was the next week, and that was one hell of a game, hell of a playoff game. So, great history with these teams going back to the Barry Sanders days, and of course, the Scott Brantley's big hit on Hipple. Remember that on the sideline, one of the greatest hits in NFL history, where he just depleted Eric Hipple on his sideline. Yeah, great memories in this series. And this one, we'll see. We'll see if it stacks up.
I had to ask, because it's like I see all these Barry Sanders, those highlight tapes come around, and I'm like, why are the freaking Bucs in so many of these, man?
Yeah.
And then I had to remember, I'm like, 2 times a year. Look at Barry killed everybody. But
I believe one game he went 80 twice. Like he had
it
2
makes
80-yard
sense.
touchdown runs.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
2005, I guess, Jeremy says, the last time the Bucs won at home against the Lions. So, So there we go.
31-29 all-time record against the Bucs.
So basically,
I never get into those big, like, long-term stats. Like, teams change week to week. You know, so don't what happened, 2 or 3 years ago is absolutely meaningless in this game. What happened 20 years ago is even more meaningless.
But I will say this, what is meaningful is again, Jared Goff is the quarterback, and let's be honest, Jared Goff has had Todd Bowles' number.
Yeah.
I think he played him in 2019 in the Coliseum, and that was the crazy game. I think it was like 45-42, I want to say, where both teams
the Bucs
kept going
won
back
that.
and forth.
55,
it was crazy.
Yeah.
The Bucs won the game, but Jared Goff, I think, the Rams had over 500 yards of offense. Jared Goff had a day. And then in 2020 was the Monday night game here in Tampa, where Jared Goff just picked apart the Bucs defense the entire night, and the Rams got the win. So I believe that makes him, and I don't know if they've played against each other than those 2 times, but Jared Goff so far has Todd Bowles' number.
Well, yeah, and I don't think this is a very similar offense to what the Rams run.
Right.
If I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, but so I don't know how much holdover there is. But to me, this is one of those old slobber knocker games, man. Who wins it up front? And I know that's cliche, but I think it especially comes in this game where the team that runs the football the best is going to win this game. I firmly believe that. And let's go. Let's see what happens.
But do you trust the Bucs? Truthfully, do you trust the Bucs to win that battle?
No.
No. It's hard to, right?
No. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what Kalijah is. I think I know, but I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen this Bucs defense with Kalijah. And, looking at what I saw against the Eagles, why would I think a team that can run the ball really well and has 3 really good first-round pick offensive linemen, very similar, they're very similar to the Eagles in that regard. So if I'm being objective, I'm going to say, the Bucs have done okay. They're holding teams, I think, to 94 yards per game. But, again, smaller sample size. The time that they played a great running team, they got steamrolled. And I mean steamrolled. It wasn't even a fair fight. So how can I sit here and say, but this time the Bucs are going to – I don't know. But there are variables. Devin White is healthier, right? He was against the Eagles. He hurt his foot, so he couldn't, couldn't run over the quarterback when he threw him a pick 6. So is he healthy? He better be, because they're coming at him. And Kalijah, what does he do? How much better is he going to be or make this defensive line? We're told a lot. This is why he's drafted number 1 in the first round. So let's see it. The test is coming. And that's what's fun about football, right? Let's go. Let's see what's going to happen. But that's, if you're watching the game, and if the Bucs can run the football and put together these 9-10 minute drives that they've been doing, and that's been a huge part of their success, then they have the upper hand. So here we go. All right, want to get to a couple other local things in our first segment here. And I want to get, I always love to get your take on what you heard from the Rays. We heard you on Monday, but since then we've had the Neander press conference, which kind of threw me for a loop. There's a story today in the Times about the Pinellas County Commissioners getting a look at the financing of the stadium and going, whoa, wait a minute here. So I don't think it's the rubber stamp thing that a lot of people think, but I want to get your take on Neander saying that, he has the freedom to go to $120 million in payroll.
Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap.
Oh, good. You're not buying it, right?
Listen, I mean,
I think I'm getting through to you finally.
I've been guilty a few times to let my fandom take over. Yeah, I got the hook in my mouth always, But, I mean, I think this last post, would you stop it?
Reeling them in. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it'd be great. I think that's what we've all been calling for. I think people, when we talk about, spending more money, like, I'm not asking for you to field what the Phillies are putting out there, or even the Rangers, to be honest. I'm not asking you to spend $500 million on 2 players
right
for the next decade. I'm not asking for that, but can you just double what you have now, or at least, a 50% increase of what you have now, like $120 million or 130. Yeah. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to win a World Series. I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to go on a long run.
Clearly.
I'm just trying to say that maybe that gives you a better shot. I want to see what happens if you can combine the brains and the analytics with adding some star power and the two coming together in a nice harmony. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So, but for right now, it's all talk. I mean, listen, last year they said they wanted to go get a left-handed bat, and Neander said that pretty upfront in his exit press conference.
Yep.
And it didn't happen. And listen,
whiff.
It didn't happen. They didn't see a deal.
The trading deadline, whiff in the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, the two guys that they put their faith in, Josh Lowe, Luke Raley. We didn't get to see Raley in the postseason. We got to see Josh Lowe. They put their faith in those two guys, and at least in the regular season, that decision paid off not to go and, take a risk on a Brandon Belt or somebody like that, or a Josh Bell, yada, yada, yada. But I think they're not putting out big plans right now. Like, they're not specifically saying, hey, we need to go acquire this, because I don't think they want to do that again where they put it out there and it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So I thought they were a little bit more kind of vague this time. But yeah, I think the whole question here is, the Glasnow thing, because I think once you factor in Glasnow going up to $25 million per, and you factor in Manuel Margot, I think he's scheduled to hit $10 million per this year.
Yeah.
And then the projections of the arbitrations for all these other guys, the Rays are going to be right at like $123 million or something like that as constructed.
Right.
And we already would all tell you that they've got to not blow it up necessarily, but they've got to make some moves and everything. Like Manuel Margot, there's no way he's going to be on this roster next year.
And what are they going to have to give up to get rid of his salary?
That's what I'm saying, because nobody's going to willingly say, yeah, we'll take Manuel Margot at $10 million.
Right.
That's a bad contract for any team in Major League Baseball, let alone the Rays.
Right.
Glasnow, I got to tell you, I'm curious to see what Glasnow's value is.
Yeah.
Because he's, 30? Got a lot of injuries. I mean, the guy, he's 6'8". It seems like just the guy moves the wrong way or wakes up wrong the morning and he's getting scratched from his start. Yep. He's only started like more than 15 games in a year once, I think.
Yeah.
Since he's been a Ray, there's just not a lot of sample size. And I think his postseason outing was not what you would say is a $25 million pitcher. It was, again, probably
it's hard to judge because of the ridiculous amount of errors.
Right.
The 4 errors made him throw way too many pitches per inning, per outing.
Right. I thought he pitched. I thought he pitched good enough to win.
He had great stuff. He had great stuff.
Right.
Great stuff.
But it wasn't like the elite take my breath away. He still had 5 walks, command,
That's
whatever.
too many.
But also the year prior, when he came back from injury, he pitched really good in game 2 of that playoff series, right? And he's had his moments in the playoffs, but he's also had some bad moments. Tipping pitches against Houston in 2019 comes to mind.
Yep.
So I'm curious what his value is on the open market. And let's be real, at that price tag and teams that can take that risk, because it is a big risk, there's probably only like 3 or 4 teams, maybe 5 around the league, and you know who they are, the big ones, that would be willing to do that.
And I think those teams are not going to offer a lot because they know the Rays want to get rid of the contract.
And
that hurts you because they know you're cheap. They know you're cheap. They know you're not going to pay them, so they'll be like, yeah, we'll give you a couple of, slapdick prospects that take them off your hands, but we're not going to give you anything great because we don't have to. There's not, like you said, there's not going to be many suitors.
Right.
Supply and demand.
I was going to say, there's 2 teams that come to mind who could use his services, and they're both in the NL, and they're both sitting at home now.
Right.
And they need pitching. Is the Atlanta Braves. I think that's abundantly clear they need pitching.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers. I think that's abundantly clear that they need pitching. And you can almost see Glasnow with his long locks and everything.
Oh, he looked good in that Dodger uniform.
In Southern California.
Andrew Friedman's not going to overpay to get him.
Right. I don't know what you're going to get for him, but I mean, it just seems like a perfect fit if you were to move off of him. But again, the other thing that comes around, whether you think the Rays will actually pay $25 million for him or not, is they kind of need him next year.
You think?
Because there is no McClanahan. You don't know when you're getting Springs and Rasmussen back. Shane Baz, who knows what he's going to look like when he gets back in there. I mean, you don't really have many guys that are in there right now that have experience.
And this is why this sets up as the ultimate test of what Eric Neander said. He has the wherewithal, and he has the blessing of the owner to go to $120 million if he wants to. I don't believe that for 1 second. And I'm not impugning Mr. Neander whatsoever. He's being a good soldier, but I think he cannot sit up there at that dais and say, yeah, I could be spending 120, but I'm not.
Right.
Okay, then go overpay for Freddie Freeman. Go overpay for these guys. You have to overpay because none of them want to play at the Trop or none of them want to play for the Rays. But you got the money. If
It's
you got
no
120,
it's no guarantee they sign though. Let's
exactly. You can't make them sign. But
right.
If you're offering $5 million more than anybody else is offering, it's pretty persuasive. Or even $2-3 million more. But they never get to that point, do they? They never do. So you have to understand that if you're free to spend $120 million, why wouldn't you want a big bopper in your lineup? You're not getting, well, maybe you are getting bonus for wins per dollar spent. Maybe you are. It's probably in his contract. But that's not what, if you're a fan, you don't give a rat's ass about that. But Glasnow is not going to bring you in return what you normally would get for a Chris Archer or a number one pitcher. Of course, you got Squadouche for Blake Snell. Squadouche. All right, Cy Young Award winner. Squadouche. Now
let's just flip him out. Let's just flip him out. Let's bring Snell back in.
Oh, love to. I'll make that deal in a moment.
I don't think he would ever play for the Rays again.
No, he wouldn't play for them. And not that he has a choice though. If he gets traded, I don't know if he has a no trade.
No, he's a free agent. He's the prize.
Oh, that's right. He's totally
free.
So. Yeah, he ain't. No, he ain't coming back here. But in the trade, if the Dodgers give us anything of value back. Glasnow is more valuable to you as a playing player this year than he is in the trade market. You're exactly right. So when he does get traded, it's all about money. It's all about money, which it always is. And they'll sell you up on this prospect and Francisco Mejia and Patino and all these guys. They'll try to sell you on what a great deal it is.
Can you imagine how tough of a pill it would be to swallow? And I hate to go back to this, but I'm going to say it. Say Tyler Glasnow gets traded. It'd be a tough pill to swallow that in a span of 3 years, your rotation at one point looked like Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Charlie Morton with the young Shane McClanahan coming up and still having Baz and Taj Bradley and all these great young guys, coming up and Springs and Rasmussen,
and
right?
Now you got Zach Eflin.
Could you imagine? Can you imagine?
Zach squared.
Like we're dangerously close to a scenario where I'll just stick to the first four guys right there, and maybe not even Charlie Morton. I won't count him; he's older, whatever. But Blake Snell, Shane McClanahan, Tyler Glasnow. I still can't help but think that should have been the rotation that was solidified for years.
That's right.
If you were willing to invest in it.
Any other team would have done that. Any other team would have done that.
It didn't happen, but that's a tough pill to swallow. That was what you had in 2020 at one point.
Well, and this is why if you're the Rays fan, the number one thing you're rooting for in this offseason is ching ching, sell the team, get rid of them and start all over. And that's what Major League Baseball wants. We'll see. And as I mentioned, there's an article. I'm going to get to this a little bit later on the show. Some of the commissioners, Pinellas County now are talking, now you finally got the numbers. Not the final numbers, but an outline. Now you got something to talk about. Now you got some public comment coming in. So now the rubber meets the road. So we'll get to that in a little bit. And as Thomas Casper correctly predicts, Rays payroll will be $65 million. I agree.
I don't think it'll be that low.
David Price, unloaded by Stu. Damn right. Franco will be traded for a bag of rosin.
All right, people. Let's chill out. Just
Snell to the Cubs, says Christopher Cole. We shall see. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Baker Mayfield. We're going to get into the Bolts as well. They got a road trip coming up, and already they have an injury to talk about. We got to talk about Taylor Swift by law and the Chiefs game last night. Boy, was that bad football. Holy Christ, was that bad Thursday night football. I couldn't even stand to watch it. We got the Phillies and Braves to talk about. Lots of college football this weekend. Pat Burnham's going to join us from Tallahassee as FSU gets set to take on Syracuse. So lots more coming your way here on the JP Peterson Show. And by the way, if you're looking to get some tickets, ticketsmarter.com. I believe we have a graphic for this if you want to pop that up in our banners. Ticketsmarter.com. If you're looking for Bucs-Lions tickets, go to ticketsmarter.com. FanStream 10 will get you $10 off an order of $200 or less, I believe, or $100 or more. And if you spend $300, FanStream 20 will get you $20 off. I know it's not a ton, but it's a little bit. Every little bit helps, right? And they charge less fees than those thieves at Ticketmaster. So go ahead and go to ticketsmarter.com. FanStream 10, FanStream 20, and get your Lions ticket. Only for Buccaneer fans. Lions fans do not use this code. You cannot use this code. We will find you. All right, back in 3. Stay with us.
Coins sitting around the house. Well, the Golden Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Golden Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement cost, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. It will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
All right. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP.
Back. Now we're back on this Football Friday. By the way, we will be at the patio next Friday. We're moving our Friday nights, our Monday night football party, watch party is now going to be a Friday night football where we preview all the big games. We'll have some guests at the patio. We'll give away some lightning tickets like we did this past week. Of course, we're presented by White Claw, so you get the $4 White Claw, seltzers, and vodka drinks, a $4 cocktail. And by the way, the bartenders at the patio, they free pour. They're not doing that little, give you a little shot, and charge you $17. They don't do that. It's a great outside vibe, great place to watch the games this weekend. And we got a lot of good games to get into, which we will. So head on over to the patio. We'll be there next Friday, but all this weekend, tonight, all through the weekend, great time to watch football. There's a good game on tonight, by the way. Colorado is playing. Stanford at Colorado at 10 o'clock.
Colorado's playing, I've got to set my freaking
Right?
clock.
Right?
Clearly, I got to revolve my life around seeing Coach Prime tonight.
Yeah, Shador Sanders with the. I'm gonna do my watch flex. This is now a term we use. Watch flex. Is that how he does it?
What is it? A $50,000 watch he had on his wrist during the game?
Man, these old athletic directors must be having their mind blown by seeing what's going on in college football. For years they could lock these kids up without getting them a hamburger from a booster. Now they're walking around with $50,000 watches, have $2 million homes, and I'm sorry, man.
Can we just admit none of this has hurt the product on the field?
Oh my God! I used to say this all the time. Like, what happens if football players have money? Oh my God! That'll kill college football.
Literally,
because how?
Like think of how much money like Caleb Williams, for example, made last year.
Yeah.
Or at least during the offseason after winning a Heisman Trophy.
I think it's $4.7 million is his NIL value, and I have no idea how they come to that. But he's got a major national endorsement with Wendy's.
Right.
That's worth a couple mil right there.
Right. We do that at On 3, the valuations.
Oh,
and
that's
all
right.
That.
That's right. You guys do that at On 3.
It's Shador who's actually the 4.
It's 4.7. Now, how do you guys do it? Do you have any idea what your formulary is?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not the most well versed on it, but
get your guy on. Whoever does that stuff,
I'll get somebody on. I'll get an NIL guy on for us next week, and they can explain how they come to those valuations because it's like complex stuff. It really is. But yeah, Shador is actually the number 1 guy, and then it goes to Caleb. I think by like a full $2 million, by the way.
Wow.
That Shador's in front of him. But my point saying that though is, so Caleb Williams has made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. We would assume. But he came back to college because he had to, obviously. But he's having a better year this year than he did last year. I don't see that guy going, oh, man, I kind of just need to coast through it because, I got the NFL coming. No, none of that. All those concerns that a lot of people had. I think that's the thing with college football is it's so enriched in tradition, and I love it. We all love it, that we're so against change sometimes, and I'm guilty of it as well. But usually there's that period where you complain, you yell at the cloud, and then eventually you get over it and you realize, okay, what changed? Not much.
Well, the only thing I don't want to change, and I've been consistent on this, is the great rivalries. Like when Nebraska leaves and you don't have the Nebraska-Oklahoma game anymore, that sucks. When Oklahoma leaves or Texas leaves and you don't have Texas A&M, of course they're going to the SEC, or Texas, Oklahoma, well, they're going to the SEC too. So if you lose, like Pittsburgh and West Virginia used to play all the time. They were in the same conference.
I like that now that they play.
Now that they're back playing again. If Florida State goes to the Big Ten and they don't play Florida anymore, that's going to suck. That's good. Yeah. That's terrible. I don't want to see that.
That's the worst part. But
I don't want to replace Florida with Purdue. Like that's not good for college football.
Right, but it's the whole thing was the NIL part when everybody was like, "Oh, this is going to ruin college football." The players, this and that. No,
was never going to be a problem. And you think about this: they used to have the NCAA football game, right? They had for many, many years, and that's what started this whole NIL thing,
right?
With the old UCLA Ed O'Bannon. He sued because his likeness was being used in this video game, and they were making hundreds of millions of dollars, and that money was going to EA Sports, and then there were portions of it going to the NCAA, and none of it going to the freaking players, man. And then they just quit doing the game because they were getting sued, instead of saying, you know what, let's start turning that money towards the players, which they easily could have done, right? Instead of just saying, oh, screw it, we're not going to do the game anymore because we're getting sued. You just screwed the players out of, I don't know, a decade of $500 million in revenue that could have been going into scholarships and just going into their bank accounts. And you just screwed them because you're greedy and you didn't want to give them any money because that would somehow, that would be the worst thing ever in college football. And I was bitching about it for so long. And I'm like, God, you guys are so stupid.
And
this is going to come back and bite you in the ass.
Based on the season we're having in college football right now, it's
never been better.
Like I was going to say, Georgia asserted their dominance against Kentucky. They looked a little bit more like Georgia of the last 2 years. And Michigan's been quietly doing their thing. And gun to my head, are those the two best teams in college football? I'd still tell you so. I'd still take Georgia and Michigan. But guess what? I can make an argument that 3 on down to 10 or 11, they can compete with Georgia and Michigan.
Absolutely.
I couldn't say that the last
100%.
couple years. This is as
100%.
deep as the field has been. So yes, the rich are still going to remain rich with NIL. Of course,
there's a lot more people moving in the neighborhood.
But everybody else can get a piece of the pie, and now you're starting to see we have now like 10, 11 teams that I can make an argument could get into the playoff.
Yeah, because now Tulane can pay as much as Southern Cal. You got a rich booster at SMU, he can pay as much as Alabama. And if your facilities are good, and don't have to be great, they don't have to be the Taj Mahal, right, that you have at Alabama. If they're really, really good and you're playing in a Power 5 conference, this is why SMU went into the ACC without getting any money. They just want the platform. They can make money off the platform as long as you're in a Power 5. You've got those great television windows to go through. Then you're going to, and this main reason that Dion wanted to be at Colorado instead of USF. Right. USF doesn't have those windows, that Fox has, and of course Fox. He knew that right away that Fox would be behind. They get all that promotion from Fox and Big Noon, Saturday,
and throw in the portal into how that plays a role. Guess what? If the portal's not open, Florida State is struggling to win 6-7 games right now.
It takes 2 more years to get good again.
Like Washington's not a factor because of Michael Penix. Oregon's not a factor with Bo Nix being the quarterback. USC's not a factor with Caleb Williams being the quarterback. The list goes on and on and on.
And here's the thing, and people don't realize, like when they didn't have the freedom to transfer, guys like Nick Saban, first of all, the SEC would not allow you to transfer from one SEC school to another. Yeah. Like, think about that. Think about how absolutely horrible that is. Now, the coaches could go, from one right next door, right? And with 10 years left on their contract, right? Players, no. And Nick Saban would hide, half of his depth chart, could start on every other team in the SEC, but the kids knew that, number one, they couldn't transfer to another SEC school. And if they did decide to transfer, their life was over. I mean, he would literally clear out their lockers mid-season, say, you're not welcome. Your scholarship is not revoked. He couldn't revoke that, but they would put so much pressure on the kids negatively that they would want to leave, right? And that's not cool. And Nick Saban wasn't the only one to do it, but he was the loudest. And that's not cool. So now when the portal opened, these coaches can't treat these guys like crap anymore and hide them on the depth chart just because they don't like them. And they're not, they want to go transfer somewhere else. So this allows these guys to go play for other teams against Alabama. And I'm just using them as an example. Everybody did it, especially in the SEC. Mark Richt was the only coach in the SEC that would not restrict players from going to other SEC schools. And Georgia fans hated him for it. And I was like, he's being human. He's allowing these kids some self-determination. What's so wrong with that? Oh, Alabama wouldn't do that. Yeah. They play dirt. I'm like, yeah. So you want to pat him on the back for that? You want to Nick Saban? No, I'm sorry. So I'm glad.
Right. And honestly, for the coaches that whine about it, the coaches have their own fraternity, and I'm sure coaches want to see coaches do well and get their money and all that. But in the modern day, they don't give you as much time anymore to figure things out. But with everything that's happened, you're able to rebuild very, very quickly. And another example, we use Florida State all the time because it's the obvious example in the state. But look at Louisville. Louisville has been a down program for a few years. They got a first-year head coach in there in Jeff Brom, who obviously it helps that he knows the program. He's been there, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But he brought in a transfer quarterback in Jack Plummer and some other guys. And guess what? They're 6-0. And now they're on the national landscape in the first year. Yep. So in this age where everybody wants everything now, well, you can speed that up a little bit. So it has an advantage to the players, but it also has an advantage to the coaches as well. Absolutely. So that's why I don't understand why the coaches, some of them bitch about it and go off about the money and this and that. Like, it's a tool to help you win football games.
It reduces their power, though, to constrict players. That's what they don't like. They've always been able to, there was a recruiting process where you kiss their ass, you get them on, and once you get them on campus, they're yours, and you can you can treat them like crap because they ain't going anywhere.
The coach who's been most open about that is Dabo Swinney at Clemson, and I don't think it's any coincidence that you see what's going on at Clemson. Not that they're a bad program, but rather than being the team that 12 games or whatever, they're going to win like 9 games.
They are no longer elite.
That's where their ceiling is now.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and you know what? We'll hold Baker Mayfield until our second hour since we're on a good college football roll here. Let's look at our turn ahead. We got Pat Burnham coming up from the Osceola Rivals Network, and we'll talk FSU. They will get things rolling tomorrow at noon against a Syracuse team. That's very interesting. They started 4-0. We'll talk a little bit about that game. The big game of the week. Can you believe this? It's a Pac-12 game. A couple of big Pac-12 games. Number 8, Oregon at number 7, Washington in the Pat McAfee Bowl. Evidently, College Game Day is going to be out there, and McAfee is not very well liked in Washington. I guess he took some pot shots at him, huh?
Well, he took the shots at Washington
State, yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know if Washington's really going to mind necessarily.
I don't think so.
But yeah, the Pac-12, again, is probably the best conference, at least from the top teams.
7 top 25 teams.
Right. I'm a little concerned. Like, they haven't gotten a playoff team, I think, since Washington in 2016. I'm a little concerned.
Has it been that long? Wow.
It has. And I'm a little concerned that if they're even going to get one, because they all got to play each other.
Yep.
And you just got to hope, if you're the Pac-12, that one of these teams is able to, kind of run the table here, because you look at the landscape of the playoff, like, Alabama still has a route. They run the table. They beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. Guess what? Alabama and Georgia will both go.
Yep.
That will probably happen.
Yeah, because Georgia's going undefeated. That schedule's
someone of Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, they all got to play each other. They're getting in. And then Oklahoma, Florida State, like, there's going to be a really, really, 3-4 good teams that probably are playoff worthy. They're not going to get in. So the Pac-12.
But what if Florida State runs the table to the ACC championship game, plays North Carolina or Louisville, and loses? How do you keep a one-loss FSU team out that beat LSU and Clemson and Miami?
Played under the scenario I just told you. Let's say that Alabama runs the table the rest of the year, beats Georgia in the SEC title game. I think both Alabama and Georgia will get in. Georgia will have been number 1 the entire way.
Wow.
And they're not going to take them out. And then you're going to get one of those Big Ten teams in there, whichever one of the 3 it is. So that's 3 spots right there. And then assume that Oklahoma or Texas, because Texas has a chance to continue on undefeated, and then they'll play Oklahoma again. If Texas wins the Big 12 title game, even with the loss to Oklahoma, they will have redeemed it, and they also have the win over Alabama, who just beat Georgia, is going to the playoff. I think that's your 4 teams. So if FSU does not go undefeated, I see a very realistic scenario where, unfortunately, they might get left out of the equation.
Well, you know what that tells me? Style points matter. Style points are going to matter.
And FSU has to start getting those, because they're not really picking up style points much right now.
No, when you get up on a team 22-0, you got to bury them.
Right.
Of course, the ACC refs had something to say about that. But we'll talk about that with Pat Burnham coming up. Other games, Miami, speaking of Miami, at number 12, North Carolina. Jesus. You haven't had a chance to talk about the Cristobal. My Lord.
For a head coach that's getting paid like $8 million a year, whatever it is.
$8 million a year. $8 million a year.
To make that call in that moment, like it defies. I know everybody's already said all the words they can say about it. It simply defies logic how you could throw out a win like that. It was the second
time he's done it. By the way,
second time he's done it. He tried to make the excuse that we got to hold on to the football and all that. That's garbage. You got to own that as a head coach.
Yep.
In my opinion,
and Cristobal, Jim Levitt went on Jason Powers' podcast. And, Jim coached with Mario Cristobal, and he recounted the last time he did that with him, and he was the defensive coordinator. He's like, my guys had already taken their pads off, It's like the same thing in Miami. Your defensive players are like, they're already over there celebrating, It's Miami, so they probably did like 3 lines each. Kidding, just joking. It's like they're so – the game's over. And now you got to throw your defense back out there. And the defense coordinator is probably looking for his headset because he already turned it off. Oh shit. What I call now, they would field goal range. It's unconscionable. You put everybody in a terrible position.
And I don't like their chances this week. North Carolina, I know a lot of people aren't talking about them right now, but listen, they're one of those teams that still has a path to the playoff. If they run the table, they're going to be in that conversation. So they got a lot to play for, and I didn't think they were overly impressive their first 3-4 games of the season, to be honest with you.
No.
But Drake May has started to play really, really well and show you why he is like any other draft, he would be the number 1 overall pick next year. He's going to go behind Caleb, obviously, this year, but he's starting to play like that guy. So, and North Carolina doesn't have to play any big teams, I think, the rest of the way, if I have that right.
They don't play Louisville, nope.
They don't play Louisville. They don't play Florida State unless they get to the ACC championship.
Game,
so they got a lot to play for, and I think they're going to take care of business this week.
Yeah, and that's a 7:30 game on ABC, and I'll be interested to see what Miami shows up. And Miami just may not be very good. I mean, think about this: they trounced Texas A&M, and they lost to a team that lost to Bowling Green by 11. And I know you can't like go one to the next, but it's like, how good is Miami really? How good are they? Georgia Tech is not a good football team, and Georgia Tech had no business being in the game, and they won the game. So how good is Miami? North Carolina could beat them by 30, and then Lord knows what FSU is going to do to them. So I'm going to be interested to see what Miami team shows up. UCLA is at Oregon State, 8:00 on Fox. That'll be a good one. Number 18 UCLA, Chip Kelly squad against Oregon State, who's the damn good football team. A&M at number 19 Tennessee. That's the 3:30 CBS game. And as I mentioned, Oregon, Washington, that's a 3:30 ABC game. And Florida State and Syracuse started up at noon.
Yeah, so, I didn't even give my pick, by the way. I think Oregon's going to win that football game on the road.
I like Oregon too.
I think as I've seen more of these teams play in the Pac-12, I think Oregon's the best team. And like Dan Lanning came from Georgia, and so he knows what championship football looks like.
He's brought a toughness to Oregon that is unusual for the Pac-12.
Like everybody concentrates on, Bo Nix and the offense and all that, but the defense, man, I mean, that's not
they're balling.
Like you said, that's not a typical defense that you would associate with Oregon, but he's putting like that kind of Georgia DNA into it. Mm-hmm. And so Washington's defense, I think if they get into a track meet, Washington's defense I love their offense, love Penix, but their defense, I think, is a little spotty, and I think that's where Oregon kind of has the advantage, especially from a physical standpoint. So I think Oregon, if they take care of business there on the road against Washington, I think their kind of path is starting to open up there.
What's UCF got this weekend?
Thankfully, we have a bye week.
A bye week, okay.
Much needed, but next week, come back.
What happened last week? Remind me.
I don't know. We don't need to go down there.
Okay.
We can ignore it. All I'll tell you this is the next time you see UCF, they're going to be playing Oklahoma at Oklahoma. So, out of the bye week.
Ooh, that's going to be nice. And USF has FAU, right?
Very winnable game.
Yeah, they definitely need to win this one. All right, quick break. Don't forget, we'll be at the patio next Friday, a week from Friday, but you should be at the patio all weekend long to watch your football. Got Colorado tonight, Fresno State and Utah State at 8, Stanford, Colorado at 10 o'clock. And we got baseball tonight as well, I believe. You can watch that at the patio, best place. And, of course, tomorrow, Florida, South Carolina, the Tampa Gator Club will be at the patio, so that'll be a party there. Tomorrow night, you've got football, so best place to watch the Bucs game on Sunday as well is the patio. Their greatest happy hour in town, 3 o'clock to 7:30, $1 off all beer and wine, already low prices. And, of course, the great outdoor venue. It's the patio, 421 South MacDill, about 3 blocks south of Kennedy, right there on MacDill. All right, quick break. Coming up next, Pat Burnham. You know him, you love him from the Osceola. We'll talk Florida State football with our Italiano Insurance FSU report. Stay with us.
Old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Golden Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Golden Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at theGoldenDiamondSource.com. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, it's time to talk some college football with our good buddy Pat Burnham as we return here. And FSU has a nice little home game against the Syracuse team that started 4-0 but has been bludgeoned the last couple of weeks by Clemson and last week by North Carolina 40-7. So we bring in our FSU expert from the Osceola, the great Pat Burnham and Rivals Network. What's up, Pat? How are you?
What's up, guys? First of all, welcome back, Nick. I'm sorry to hear that you guys signed your head coach to an extension.
Yeah, you like the timing of that after giving up a 35-10 lead at home against a really bad Baylor team. I love it. It's great.
Might should have waited another year before they did that.
You know, I said the same thing, but, you know, failing upwards, I guess. But it's good to see you, Pat. It's good to
nice seeing you, man.
I'll just hang back here and let you guys go at it for a little bit.
No, I don't want to talk.
Listen,
I don't want to talk about it.
Things are not much better on my end of that equation over there in Tampa. I mean, they go and get boat raced by UAB. As Trent Dilfer. I mean, that was shocking. I mean, I'm pulling for my boys, the Bulls, but come on, man, you can't get out coached by Trent Dilfer like that.
How does Alabama score 17 or 14? And Alabama Birmingham score 56.
Because college football makes absolutely zero sense on a weekly basis. I mean, we saw Mario last Saturday do something I have not seen done since Jacksonville State 2021 at Florida State.
Yes.
And you watch West Virginia still victory from the jaws of defeat or whatever.
Last night. I
mean, that was crazy. They go ahead with 13 seconds left. The damn quarterback who's from Tallahassee taunts or gets unsportsmanlike, which causes West Virginia to kick off from their own 20. That guy could not have. He threw that ball 49 yards, JP. He couldn't throw it 1 inch further. I mean, that penalty cost those boys the game, along with a lot.
Yes.
Listen, college football's fun. It's fine. We stay up all night, every night watching it. Listen, the games on Tuesday night were unbelievable. I don't know if you saw
that. We have Tuesday. I didn't even know we had Tuesday night college football.
The Liberty-Jacksonville State game was excellent. I mean, there was Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee was good on Tuesday night. The Wednesday night games were not as good. But anyway, yeah. So,
dude, you're sick. You're watching college football on Tuesday and Wednesday. You have a family? What the hell are you doing, man?
JP, there's this thing called January to August where I don't get to see any of it. So I've got to squeeze.
God bless you, man.
As I can in before we get to the bowl games, because even the bowl games aren't what they used to be. I mean,
well, if you have a significant other, and as Nick well knows, you have to watch. The last 90 days or 90 days over reverse or Love is Blind.
Hey,
I mean,
let me give you the secret though. This is the great thing is my wife has started doing wedding planning. And so all those weddings are on Saturday, and God bless these awful people that are doing weddings during the fall. I mean, just the worst humanity has to offer. But that takes my wife away
on Saturday.
Every Saturday during the fall. So I've got my college football back. Before it was like, can I just get like a 3-hour window to watch this UCF game?
So now you're like, yes to weddings during football season. Now you're all for it.
Correct, because I don't have to show up to them, and I get the house to myself and all the TVs in the world. So yeah,
I try to date athletes, JP. I try to date women that used to be former athletes.
So they understand.
Yeah, listen, there's trade-offs. Like I don't care about watching football on Sunday. I will. Yeah. But I don't care about the NFL, so they can have all day on Sunday. Hey, let's go to the market. Let's do whatever we need to do.
Okay, all right. Yeah, nice play there. All right, yeah. Yeah, and I will take college football over pro football any day. I have a hard time watching games other than Buccaneer games, to be quite honest. Like a Texans-Browns game, like I have zero interest. I might have a fantasy player in there, but even that's not going to get me sitting down and watching the game.
I'm red zone all the way on NFL.
Yeah.
And that's it only if I have a DraftKings fantasy team in
right.
that particular week. Other than that, I'm rewatching college football or doing something that's not football.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like there's too many good games on Saturday that I don't get to see as much as I want to see. So, yeah, I would when the NFL was not playing and college football was playing for COVID or whatever the hell it was, I was like, ooh, give me college football on Saturday and Sunday. Space out all the good games. I'd take that any day of the week. You can for the most part have the NFL, and Taylor Swift. But in the NFL, but that's fine. All right, let's talk about FSU. Here comes Syracuse. One time we thought was pretty good, but their quarterback, what's that cat's name? Garrett Schrader, who ran for 179 against FSU last year. And FSU clearly is by law prohibited from tackling a quarterback who at any point during the game. So with that law being in place in Tallahassee and anywhere Florida State plays, does Syracuse have a fighting chance here?
Listen, I think it would take a career of all career days for Garrett Schrader and this team to come in. If you look what they've done against Power 5 opponents versus their other opponents, which were Colgate, Western Michigan, and Army, it's totally lopsided. I mean, listen, the more you dig into this matchup, the worse it is for Syracuse. They give up a ton of plays behind the line of scrimmage, particularly against North Carolina and Clemson. They've done so. Now, their defense is kind of unique. It's a 3-3-5. I don't know how unique it is anymore. 20 years ago, it was very unique. Rocky Long kind of was one of the forefathers of that particular scheme. Now, they're going to bring pressure from everywhere. Can they cause some problems if they're playing really good on defense? Sure. But they've given up over 700, I think it's 765 passing the last 2 weeks. 705 yards passing to Clemson and North Carolina combined. They gave up, as good as that defense is, they gave up 202 yards rushing to North Carolina, 126 to Clemson. So, listen, I think it would take a lot of weird, strange things to happen. I think this Florida State team is just better. Syracuse has a hard time stopping the pass. They're not very good pass defense. You think Florida State's got the better receivers than Clemson had, obviously, and a better quarterback. And then obviously you would think that they're at least on par with North Carolina, if not better at receiver. And obviously, so you could say the same thing at quarterback. So listen, this, if Rondé Gadsden was on this offense, it would still be a huge challenge for Syracuse.
Nice.
I don't see how they can get it done. Now, anything can happen. We see tight games all the time, but I think the biggest question mark would be, can Syracuse create some turnovers in blitz situations, get to the quarterback, create some really short fields for his offense. We have not seen Florida State play a complete game yet. They need to do that against this team. And as I heard you guys talking, I wrote something about it in my Takeaway Tuesday column post Virginia Tech, that optics are at some point going to matter.
Yep.
And they're going to probably matter more against Miami and Florida and Duke than they are against Syracuse. But, when you start talking about the college football playoff, if Florida State's able to win the ACC, how they win and how they look when they win is going to matter, as we all know. Now, the eye test probably shouldn't matter, but it does. It matters to us, right? We talk about it every week. I mean, we watched them beat Clemson 2 weeks ago, and we got on that post game. We tried. Well, they only ran for 22 yards. So, we're getting after their ass for that. But so yes, optics are going to matter. So they need to come in here and really they need to make this game short, sweet. Start getting ready for Duke and Riley Leonard if he's able to play. But optics are going to matter, and they need to come out and I think they got to put some 50s on the board to get some people, and they need to keep people to 12 or less points. I mean, you need to start seeing some 50-10 ball games when you start talking about the optics. But listen, they are 5-0, as you guys were talking beforehand. I think they should be in Charlotte. I think we all three agree that, there's no excuse for this team not to be in Charlotte. We'll see how Miami responds. What happened last week. Listen, it could be very tough for Mario to get this team back, or maybe, listen, I mean, there's some backstory going back to 2021. After Florida State, I know some people that really think how Mike responded to that loss is one of the reasons why this program is where it is right now. So
the Jacksonville State loss.
The way he responded to that is one of the main reasons this team was 10-3 last year and obviously 5-0 this year. So we'll see how it turns out to Miami, but obviously, you would think that they'd have a hard time getting up for this game after Mario did what he did to those kids. I mean, we saw the reactions. But, I think that I agree with what you guys were saying before I came on. This is a Florida State team that should make it to Charlotte. And, obviously, these optics are going to matter the closer we get. College Football Playoff Committee starting to release their rankings, which are the only ones that matter. And, listen, it's funny to go around and I heard y'all talking about McAfee a little bit earlier, and I tune in on his show from time to time. And, I watched Bobby Carpenter, or former Ohio State linebacker, who has his segment there. And, Florida State has not been on his radar as a top
0
any of the last 3 weeks I've watched that. So, we tend to – listen, are the guys on the playoff committee that feel that way, right? Because, we tend to be centric to where our relationships are, who our teams are, and where we are in the country. That allows, I have not seen Michigan one time this year. I've seen some highlights.
Well, they haven't played anybody. Played
nobody.
Last week they played Maryland. Everybody's like, "Oh, Maryland." I'm like, Maryland's. They haven't played anybody. And
I heard somebody say
getting some run. I'm like, come on. Just because their quarterback's got a Tagovailoa name doesn't mean he's that good. But anyway, Michigan's played nobody. That's the thing. We're 6 weeks in, and we still don't know. I don't think we can pinpoint the top 4 teams, the top 6 teams. I mean, there's so much parity at the top, and FSU is among them, which is great. That's fantastic, but they're still not getting the play. And I think that's self-inflicted because, you go up 22-0 and you're dominating Virginia Tech as we roll back a little bit the last week. And then you just, you get a couple of bad calls, the interception, which was phenomenal, probably should have stood, a roughing the passer. That's an call. and a couple other bull crap calls or non-calls.
Well, the call against Byron Turner that cost him the interception by AZ was ridiculous. I mean,
awful.
You got to let these guys play football. I mean, that was a legal hit. It was there's no way that penalty should. And listen, I'm a guy that says, listen, let's just, before we go into a game, it's a given. The refereeing is going to suck on both sides.
Yeah.
But that was ridiculous. The optics of that call were terrible. I mean, that guy should be suspended from his next game. We are playing football. This is not soccer. This is not basketball. It's not baseball.
And what an interception, too. That was just a phenomenal sideline pick. Oh, my God.
It was a kid to receiver.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And that's, they get that call, and it's, it's going to be 30-0, 29-0 in the next 3 or 4 plays because FSU was on the roll. But then it turns into a kickoff return at the second half. We got a 1-score game. Same shit that happened at Boston College. And you're just like, come on now. If you're as good as we think you are, you got to step on the freaking neck like the old FSU teams did. Now, to me, and I said this after the game, the problem here is a defense that is just not championship caliber. And I know we're nitpicking here. This is the same team that lost to Jacksonville State. I get that. But now there's some expectations. You can't play defense like that against Virginia Tech and think that you're going to go undefeated.
Well, listen, and that's one of the optics you're talking. Listen, they were a one-handed football team, right? They could not throw the ball.
Right.
6 of his 12 completions, I believe, were to running backs, and I think 3 of those were passes thrown behind the line of scrimmage. You cannot give up 205 yards rushing to a team that can only run the ball.
Right.
I mean, so yes, those kind of listen. And is that what happens when these former coaches go into a college football playoff committee meeting and they're sitting there talking about, let's go back through the schedule and let's start. I don't know how they break it down. I mean, they made it.
If you can't stop the run, you look like a bad football team.
Well, and that's exactly what they got to do this week. So we'll see if they've improved any, because that's what Syracuse. Listen, here's the other thing. Going back to the Virginia Tech game. Virginia Tech was their own worst enemy early. They threw 7 of the first 9 plays.
Yeah.
Because they probably came into the game thinking, listen, everybody throws against Florida State. We can.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. And they cost them. They went 3 and outs in those drives. Then they started running the ball. We saw a 16-play drive, and then I think it was an 8 or 9-play drive. So, listen, you go back and look how that game played out. It's got some very curious why Virginia Tech would not come out and try to run the ball. I still have no idea. But anyway, yes, they've got to shore up the run defense. And we think.
Why is the run defense so bad, Pat? This is why I'm looking at, Lovett and these big boys up front and some decent linebackers. Why is that run defense so bad?
Well, I mean, I think you got to go back in. One of the things that we have to do, and I'd have to go. I don't have it sitting in front of me, but how many of those were scramble yards? I mean, that's one thing I want, because you got really, to some extent, you got to factor out those scramble yards, right? Because you're playing pass.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course. So I'd have to go back and figure that out, but and I don't have their stats sitting in front of me. But yeah, listen. Bottom line is, that's what Syracuse is going to try to do. It's what they can do. So Florida State, and Schrader is a guy that, can cause some problems for you. He was not healthy when they played him last year. He had an ankle. He seems to be fully healthy. They need to punish him early. They need to get after him. They need to be physical with him. And, hopefully, there's no reason to think they're going to have success throwing the ball. They haven't really just killed anybody with the pass, particularly not Purdue, Clemson, or North Carolina, where it's been a steady decline in their efficiency. They're due for 184 against Purdue, 181 against Clemson, and 129 against North Carolina. So, and then, they've allowed 11 sacks in the last 3 ball games out of the 16 they've given up. They've allowed 18 TFLs in the Power 5 ball games out of 34. So more than 50% have come against Power 5s. Then they've given up they gained 7 sacks of their 18 against Power 5. And then they've gained 24 of their TFLs, so that's about the only thing consistent. Like in the run game, their defense plays behind the line of scrimmage regardless of opponent. They had 13 tackles for a loss against Clemson, and I think Florida State's offense is better than Clemson's offense. So you would hope that would not happen. I think they've, you got to more mobile quarterback back there with Jordan than you do at Cade Klubnik. But yeah, listen, I think that this is a ball game they should win very easily, and I think this is a ball game we may see Jordan Travis air it out a little bit too.
And you talk about the defense, that it hasn't been up to par really, and who knows if that's a schematic thing or if it's a player thing, whatever it is. But is it at least help, like, again, going back to like a resume standpoint, because we got to look at these things. The best game they probably played was the first game of the year. Now, you don't want to peak necessarily at the beginning of the year, right? You want to peak later, but that was against LSU, which is by far the best offense you're going to see on your schedule. And they're the only team that stopped LSU, which I think is the number 3 offense in the nation right now. So do they at least have that kind of going for them, you think, when it comes to talking resumes?
Yeah, I think that you need LSU to win out, right? I mean, I think that's going to help. You need Clemson to win out. You need Miami to win every game they play the rest of the season, other than Florida State, because they're on your schedule. As most, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but you got to hope Florida's 7-4, at least 7-4, the worst and ranked when you go into that game. Because right now you only got 2 ranked teams on your schedule, and that's Duke and Miami. You need another ranked opponent to pop up on that schedule. So if you're a Florida State fan that wants them to go to the playoff and not just the ACC championship game, you better go out and grab you an orange and blue hat, start wearing it around a little bit, because you need the Gators to finish strong too. Because listen, you only got 2 ranked teams. I don't know how that compares to what North Carolina and Louisville have left on their schedule. As you guys have already talked about, the Pac-12 is loaded this year. Obviously, you got 3 Big Ten teams in the top 10 right now, I believe, with Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Obviously, Oklahoma's having a really good year in the Big 12, and Texas could respond, and it's going to be what – I mean, I don't think the Big 12 is as deep as it has been, but certainly those 2 programs seem to be back. I don't know if there's anybody out there that can give those boys a run for their money, but as we get towards talking about the college football playoff, these playing ranked teams is going to matter, and how you play against the others, or the non-ranked teams particularly, are going to matter as well. But listen, it's going to be a fascinating run to the college football playoff, and I think we're all going to be sitting here on December 8th or whenever those come out, and I think we're going to be saying this should have been the year they should have gone to 12, because number 3 and number 4 are no different than number 5 and number 6. And
well, I will say this, people were talking about that the other day. The conference championship games are really, really going to matter. They're almost like
there's your other ranked
games.
Team, right? There's your other ranked team.
Yeah, they're almost like playoff games. Like whoever, and Nick is right. If Georgia goes undefeated and they lose, this may be the year, if they're playing enough close games, which they've already played a lot of close games. They haven't been as impressive, that maybe they lose that game and they don't go. Maybe there's other teams that are more impressive. I don't know. We shall see. But I think these conference championship games should be treated as playoff games. I don't think any losers should be moving into the playoff this year. And there's going to be, maybe I don't know if the Big Ten championship game is going to mean anything. But certainly a Texas-Oklahoma rematch will mean something, right? Yeah. An FSU Louisville undefeated will certainly, or North Carolina will certainly mean something. I don't know maybe the Pac-12 will mean something, but these are going to be kind of like playoff games.
Well, yeah, and it depends on how much. I mean, listen, what if the playoff committee says, listen, by far the Pac-12 is the best conference this year? I mean, maybe that's their take. So maybe that team is the team that gets a one-loss team in, one-loss conference champion in this year. Maybe
people would freak out.
It's going to be fascinating to see. And listen, you got to hope Alabama loses a game or 2 along the way. That way, even if they beat Georgia, they can't get in. If they were to beat Georgia in the championship game, you got to hope maybe if you're a Florida State fan, you'd love to see Tennessee or Florida upset Georgia, obviously. Mm-hmm. I don't know who else they have on their schedule that has potential to do that. I think they've already played Auburn, right? And
maybe Missouri. Do they have them on there?
Yeah, they do have Missouri because they're on the same side.
Missouri can score.
Yeah, and they've laid an egg a time or 2 before. They played some unusually close games against Missouri in the recent past. So maybe Eli brings out his flash sword or whatever he did a couple of years ago after the press conference.
And how does the and I think this year when we're trying to compare conferences, like the Pac-12 is better than the SEC. Who'd have thought it, right? And you start looking at some of these inter-conference games, the fact that FSU beat LSU, and LSU is going to have a lot of wins in the SEC. The fact that North Carolina beat South Carolina, beat South Carolina. Some of these games, even though they're early in the season, I think will become more meaningful as you start looking at is the SEC really that good? If Florida State rolls Florida and Florida plays Georgia head to pretty tough, and both of those teams have one loss at the end of the year, what are you saying about those two teams? So I think the committee's going to be challenged this year to not go on previous bias. Look at what's happening this year.
What if you have two undefeated ACC teams in ACC championship?
Yeah,
games?
That's what I'm saying.
What if North Carolina and Florida State are undefeated? Do you take two from the ACC?
I think we know the answer to that question.
Even if the ACC rolls all these SEC teams in their interconference games,
they have no margin of error.
Georgia and Alabama would both have to have two losses for that to happen.
Yeah, probably, which is wrong because Alabama ain't what it used to be. Obviously, this year Georgia's not as good.
I'm not convinced. I don't see a scenario and this to me would make people's heads explode. Georgia runs the table, then loses to Bama. So you have those two one-loss SEC teams. Let's just say Ohio State and Michigan, right? Like whoever beats each other at the end of the year, and then the other team that lost the regular season game wins the conference championship game. So then you have those two teams with one loss.
God.
What if they just go ahead and say, you know what? We're just going to put all four of those teams in.
They would have to have some kind of unusual carnage in the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah. Right, and that's assuming the Pac-12 just beats everybody and they're out of the equation.
They could be their own worst enemy, right? I mean, they could.
And that's where these inter-conference games matter, right? I mean, if the ACC takes care of every major game they play with the SEC, which so far they have, if I'm not mistaken, how do you judge them even above the ACC? I mean, if Georgia, like I said, if Georgia, let's say Georgia, Florida, played a 13-10 game, okay, and then Florida State goes into Gainesville and beats Florida 41-10. And both Florida and Georgia have one loss at the end of the year. How are you going to say, oh, well, Georgia's got to go over Why? You barely beat South Carolina. You barely beat. I mean, it's just not the Georgia of old, and they got a cream puff schedule. I mean, FSU's isn't much tougher, but they beat LSU. They beat some of these teams. They beat Clemson on the road. They beat LSU in a neutral site. These weren't home games,
Well, listen, I think you'll get some projection done then by whoever's on the committee. Well, if Florida State had played in the SEC, where would I think you'll get some of that?
The SEC East, let's go.
I'm just playing devil's advocate to your question.
Yeah, I know, you're right.
Yeah, but I think that's how that gets played out. Listen, the good news is all this, the fact that we've got more parity this year than we've had in recent years will have everybody a fever pitch for 2024 and that 12-team playoff. But listen, go just right now, based on when you get done with today's show, just right now, based off where we're at going into week 7, there's some trying to find the last two football, who you're going to put at 11 and 12 in that playoff. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating exercise. You could actually say 8 through 12 is fascinating because I had Ole Miss in over an undefeated team. I can't remember who the old undefeated team is, but right now in my 12-team playoff, I have Ole Miss in, and there's somebody that's undefeated out. I can't remember who it is, but long story short, it's fascinating when you start going to the 12-team thing. And this year, you would probably say, well, Georgia and Michigan would be the guys that you place the best odds on, and after that, it's really a crapshoot. And I don't think Michigan or Georgia are unbeatable, obviously. Anyway, yeah. So listen, it's going to be a fun race.
Crazy down the stretch.
Yeah, it's going to. So there'll be some things happen this weekend that'll make that picture a little bit more murky for everybody. Let's just hope that's not in Tallahassee.
Yeah, we agree that FSU needs to put a 40-7 beating on Syracuse like North Carolina did last week or better, because at this point, style points are going to matter, and that's the way it should be. It's college football. Let's go.
Hey, real quick, Pat. Winston Wright no longer with the program from what I saw this week. I'm just curious, have you been able to, is that just a playing time thing, you think, or was there maybe something that happened internally?
Well, listen, I think there's a couple things, I don't know which of these things are true, but I think one of the things was, listen, he's played in 4 games, and he played in another one. He loses that year of eligibility, which I believe is his final year of eligibility. So if he redshirts, he still has 1 to play. Now, we did think watching him in fall camp that he was going to play more, and he hasn't. He's played on kickoff return against Virginia Tech, but I don't think he had to play from scrimmage. And they're starting to play the true freshman Des Hill a little bit. And listen, he's been, he came back from a major injury. We thought he looked very fast and explosive towards the end of camp. So we were kind of surprised that his playing time had gone down the further the season went along. Now, and then get Ja'Kai Douglas back, so he's even going to get more reps taken from him. So I think at the end of the day, that had more to do with it anything else. Listen, Dez was announced as a starter in the first home game on the video board. So that, he's been the backup since the season started. And, listen, I'm sure he was, he came in with a nice resume from West Virginia. I'm sure he's a little bit surprised that he got beat out by a true freshman that has not played football in a couple of years. But at the end of the day, I think it was about playing time. And all these kids, right or wrong, have a dream of playing the NFL. And I think he thinks if he can go somewhere and start for a full season, he's got a better chance at that than as a guy that didn't play much on a team that's loaded at receiver.
All right, Pat, good stuff, my man. Tell everybody how they can get your content at the Osceola Rivals Network.
Yeah, just go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com. We've got several things today, including staff predictions and keys to an FSU win. We've also got the visitors list for this weekend. They've got a University of Georgia commit coming in, 2025 tight end. Elias Williams will be there. They got of course, they have D.D. Holmes, one of their commitments from Washington, D.C., will be there along with several others. But got Zion Grady coming in from Alabama, a defensive end, 2025 kid, and a guy from down there in Clearwater Catholic, Dershawn Newton, a defensive back, 2025. So we got a list of everybody that's coming. Jared Curtis, a big-time 2026 quarterback, will be there as well. But you can go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com and check us out. And guys, I appreciate it as always.
Thank you, man. Sorry, we took a long time. We picked your brain today. Thanks, buddy.
Fun.
Appreciate
I love talking ball. Sorry not to talk ball.
It's good stuff. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, we will take a little bit of a break here, come back and talk a little bit more Buccaneers. We're going to hear from Baker Mayfield, Mr. College Game Day and everything. We'll hear from him, talk a little baseball too, as well as the wacky playoffs continue. We're brought to you by the folks at the Patio and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo and his great team over there. If you're looking to lose weight, get your testosterone right, get your immune system right, that's the place to go. Get a new primary care physician that'll spend more than 15 minutes with you. That is Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Fall is here. The holidays are coming, and the Golden Diamond Source will be your trusted jewelry destination as they have been for the past 4 decades. Yes, the Golden Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry supercenter with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to spend any extra time waiting for them to have to bring something in or order something. Everything is in-house. And if you want to get shopping before the holidays, you can get low financing, start early, for up to 5 years. Looking for a pre-owned Rolex or one of those baller watches? They have a huge selection at the Golden Diamond Source, so go check those out as well. And of course, we always say keep it local. Great philanthropists, Julie and Steve Weintraub. Love those folks. Do so much for the community. So if you got to shop for jewelry, why not shop at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Golded Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Gold and Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
We are back here on the JP Peterson Show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to Apple or Spotify if you want to check us out as a podcast. Also, we've got our new link tree there on all of our social media. You can just hit that. We have a new donate button, Nick. I don't know if you know this, but on our link tree, you can go ahead and if you want to support the show and support independent journalism, because we are all advertiser supported, folks. We are not corporate media, which is the reason we can keep it real with y'all and say things that nobody else is saying. So if you want to support us, we would certainly appreciate that to keep this fabulous show going. Just go to our link tree, tap on that, and there's a little donate button there that you can go to 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. I notice if you go to the Times website and subscribe, which I do, they have a little donate button that comes up for them. Donate for independent journalism. I'm like, okay, where do we get that? By the way, anyway, at times people hate me. I'm so sorry, but I just have to call it the way I see it, guys. I love you personally. You're all wonderful people, but we're just doing our jobs over here. Trying to keep it real. So that's what we're doing. Anyway, donate if you would like to. We'd really appreciate the support. And you could do that on our link tree on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, any place, just go ahead and hit that. We'd really appreciate it. And we got some interesting comments here today that I would like to share. Some new people jumping aboard, including Jason Peterson. Says, I'm now discovering your channel. I just subscribed because of your name. It's a great name. Yes, it is. Absolutely, Jason. You are correct. Richie P. Cristobal is a true Miami, and doing what Miami people do, they're so arrogant that they think the football gods will bow down to them. And no, Miami, you don't own the original Cuban sandwich. Just saying, no, you don't. And Jeremy says, give Nick a tissue for his UCF season. It's tough. Been there, done that.
I'm fine. I said 6-6 at the beginning of the year. I'm not losing any sleep.
Yeah. Richie P says, say again where. So on our if you go to our Instagram fan stream or Twitter fan stream, JP, or if you go to Instagram, just Google it, Instagram, Facebook, any of those social medias, there's a link tree button on there. Just click the link tree, and then there's a button on there to donate to the program. So thanks, Richie P. We appreciate that. I don't know if we can put it somewhere. We probably should be able to put it in. I'll try to put it in the comment section here, and you just bang the link tree. You'll be able to get it. So I'll do that as well. All right. And while you guys listen to Baker Mayfield, who chatted with the media this week in advance of this game with the Lions, and I love the creamsicle background. Here's Baker.
I asked him, what makes this a good fit for you? And he said it's similar to what you kind of did at Oklahoma. When did you know, like at one point where you hear that kind of clicked to you, like this is going to be a really good fit for me?
Just honestly watching how they were over the years, knowing Coach Bowles and the interactions I had with him coming out of the draft, and just knowing the organization now, just knowing what the standard is, the culture, all the things that it takes a lot of hard work to have that groundwork laid, and just coming in here, and they've always said from the beginning, just be myself and be the best version, and that's what, when you allow people to be confident in that and believe that's more than enough to have success, the good things will happen. And so they've been obviously really welcoming since the beginning.
You get up Oklahoma, it looked like you had one heck of a bye and
Nice.
Going there and the picker and everything. How was that? Did that kind of like clear your head, rejuvenate you?
Oh, what the? I got hit with an ad.
Oh my God, what happened?
There is
Damn,
no
Baker
hit with
Mayfield.
an ad in the middle of this.
I never seen him do it in the middle.
In the middle of a press conference.
Yeah, that's
that's
bizarre.
I think it's coming back here. It's here.
Is it Wi-Fi related,
Baker.
or is it?
Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, if you're a fan of football, College Game Day is something you watch every Saturday. Just one of those things I used to get up every Saturday and watch as a kid. And so, being able to get up there and make the picks with those guys, the dream come true for me. And it was so much fun.
So cool.
Getting to go back and be around the guys. And obviously, nothing like that OU Texas game in the Cotton Bowl. So obviously a good outcome. That always helps. But, yeah, it was awesome.
You've had a lot of success in the second half. You lead the NFL right now in completion percentage. What is it about the second half of games on the line that maybe, I don't know if the focus sharpens or it's game time comes up for you?
In this league, you have to be able to adjust, and I think just as a team as a whole, we've done a good job of adjusting. You go into halftime, you have your script, you have your game plan ready to go, but the team can play you differently than you expect. So you have to be able to adjust, make adjustments at halftime, communicate with the receivers on different looks, what we're going to get to, and just be on the same page. So for us, it's doing the little things right and just staying on the same page when it comes to getting in the second half.
I know with the ground game, there's still some work to be done there, but it seemed like Rashad White did some of the dirty work against the Saints that maybe kind of went unnoticed. Just what have you seen from him? What have you learned about him as a teammate?
He's got no ego to him. I think, obviously he wants to have more success, but that time will come. So we're just continuing to press the issue that we have to be better in the run game. It's for us to have success down the road here, we have to have that. But he's patient, and I think just one of those underrated plays for him was getting him out in space, throwing that ball to him, and he made a couple guys miss down the goal line. And so it's just he's a special player with the ball in his hands, so we have to continue to find ways to do that as we get the run game going.
In New Orleans, you guys had 26 points on offense, which was a season high for you so far. Do you feel like you look at the Lions are just averaging under 30 points per game? If this game got into a shootout, has the offense improved enough and evolved enough to where you feel like you guys could go toe-to-toe and win a shootout game at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to compare us to their offense, but just for us as a whole, that was a game that, we had talked about scoring in the red zone and improving in that aspect. But just for us, it's continuing to do all the little things right, which is why we haven't had the best offensive game yet. And so continually improve as the year goes on. And so this is one of those games that we can't look at their score. We just have to continue to do our job and put up the most points possible. And they play with so much effort, so we have to match that effort and then outdo it, honestly, and just do our best to execute as well.
There's only so much trust that can be built in practice, right? But when you're out there and you're able, in game, when Mike Evans goes out and you're able to connect with Devin Tompkins on a touchdown and Kate Otten, and I know that Trey Palmer's been an asset for you guys already, but just Chris Godwin to be able to have a game, 100-yard game, just what can that do for kind of the growth of this offense? And I don't know, could you feel the kind of the trust growing with those guys?
Oh, absolutely. And that comes from just the reps early on in camp. It's a blessing to be able to practice here in the heat where you have to rotate guys in and everybody's getting reps. And so those guys have seen a lot of looks, but for them to translate it onto the field on a game day was extremely important for us. And so they played really well, and their roles will continue to grow as this offense goes. It's not, we design plays to get it into our best players' hands, but at the same time, we don't force the issue. The ball's going to go where the defense dictates it. And so we're just calling the plays, and Dave trusts me to go through my reads and distribute how it needs to be.
Baker, looking at the matchup against the Lions defense, they have a bit of a game record with Aiden Hutchinson. How important is it going to be to stop him or at least limit him on Sunday?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that he can ruin your day. He has that potential, and he's capable of that. So just we got to know where he is. They move him around quite a bit. They do a good job of that. But the thing that jumps out on tape, I know everybody talks about it, is his effort. He never quits. He never stops on a play. So even if you have him blocked for a second, he's going to find a way to break free. So anytime stepping up in the pocket or moving around, he's going to be chasing. There's going to be pursuit. So gotta have eyes on him at all times.
So when you look at him, he's got
YouTube is the new home of NFL.
All right, that's
Sunday
enough.
Ticket.
That's enough.
Yeah, two
Jiminy
ads.
Christmas.
2 ads in the middle of a 8-minute video.
Yeah, how do you that's unheard of. It's unheard of.
We got through the good stuff there that Baker said there at the end.
Yeah, he's just, and you could see this, at least I could, at practice, the press conferences and everything, and it's why I was so bullish on the Bucs early on in the season is like he's such a good fit. He's such a good fit here. Exactly what Canales wanted. He's perfect for the system. His temperament is perfect. Chip on his shoulder. Guys love him. He's the anti-Tom Brady. I hate to say that, but he's the anti-Tom Brady. The movement, all of it is such a good fit. And how often do we talk about fits, right? Fits for teams, fits for coaches, fits for players. This is what makes good football teams, right? It's can you take a guy out of one system and put him in the other, or one culture and put him in the other, and it works. Like Derek Carr, does that look like it's a fit for the Saints?
Well, I will say this about New Orleans without getting too off topic. Like, I said that what they were doing this year kind of reminded me a little bit of what the Bucs were doing in 2020 by bringing in a veteran quarterback that they thought could take them to the next level, surrounded by a veteran roster that had been close but not quite there, and then continuing to add, around Derek Carr. So maybe they're going through the same thing that the Bucs did in 2020 when they got off slow and they looked out of sync. And Derek Carr obviously is not really completely healthy right now either. But maybe that could add a reasoning to why New Orleans looks like that, where it's not a fit right now, and we could be saying something different, in about 4 or 5 games. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's a way to look at New Orleans, at least from the optimistic side.
Yeah, I just don't see a better fit around the league than Baker Mayfield to the Bucs. That's for sure.
Right, because you have a lot of players on this team that, albeit some of them have won Super Bowls, they're trying to prove that there was more to this team than just Tom Brady, and that, hey, we can play. Like, we got a lot of guys on this team that can be Pro Bowl players and are making big money around here. So you have that added in, and then everybody just throwing dirt on them all offseason like they were a bottom 5 team in the NFL, which clearly they're not. And then add that into Baker Mayfield, who is fighting for, this is his last opportunity probably to start in the NFL, so he's got a lot to play for. Like, both those kind of and Todd Bowles, obviously, got a lot to prove as a head coach. All these things have just combined into one kind of nucleus here that we all have something to prove. And so I think that's why he is such a great fit to this team right now.
Yeah, and obviously he was named the captain along with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin on the offensive side, and Tristan Wirfs. I mean, those are pretty obvious.
Nothing shocking there.
Defensively, Winfield named captain, Devin White, which I thought was interesting, Levante David, and Vita Vea. So no shockers on the captain's side. But again, Devin White is on the clock this week. Yep. He is in the focal point. No question about it.
By the way, I had a Laporta update here. Dan Campbell just said he revealed that he has a calf strain. It's official diagnosis of Laporta, and he did take part in walkthroughs today, but his status for Sunday is still uncertain. But a calf strain, I got to imagine that's going to be pretty difficult to try to play through, especially if this is something that just popped up here late in the week. So
yeah, it's those are the weirdest injuries, man. They look at what it did for Kalijah Cansey. He was out 5 weeks. Well, actually more than that, because he was out. I mean, he came back and played the opener, but then he missed most of training camp too. So yeah, that's a big blow.
In this Detroit offense, at least from a skill weapon standpoint, like Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get his. I think we know that.
Yeah.
Josh Reynolds has had his moments this year, but does he really scare you? Not really. Marvin Jones looks a little past it, and then Jamison Williams is kind of the wild card in this whole equation, but he's still getting up to speed, I think, of figuring out the offense, getting that hamstring completely going. He hasn't played a lot of football in 2 years. So, if Laporta doesn't play, it's actually setting up really well for the Bucs going into this game. Like, maybe they're getting, and I know we kind of said this about Philly because they had some issues on the back end of their defense, but maybe they're getting Detroit at a good time here, that they're able to take advantage. I mean, the Bucs, if Mike Evans plays, I think they're definitely the healthier side going into this one.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a Pewter Report video right now, which I will retweet, of Mike Evans running a pass route. I would say, I think that's for show more than anything else. He looks at that's about 50%. It looks like he just can't really stretch out his leg. Yeah. So a little burst of get off, and then kind of a what are you going to tell from a Friday practice from 30 minutes of he's not going hard anyway. But Luke Gedeke practiced, Jamel Dean, Kalijah Cansey, Pewter Report says didn't see Shaq Barrett for the second day in a row. He was listed on the injury report with an illness. So hope that is a illness and not a, struggling with his off-season tragedy, because he was very candid after the game a couple of weeks ago, and just said it was, there were a couple games early on where he just was so still overcome by grief, losing his daughter, that he, didn't think he was going to be able to play. So, well, let's, prayers up for Shaq Barrett. And we need him. We need him to be Shaq Barrett if this team's going to be successful this year. But obviously it's on his timeline. So we'll see where that goes. But Aiden Hutchinson, I haven't seen anything on him yet. We'll get the official report later on. But the Lions are banged up. There's no doubt about it. They are banged up. And like you said, it's a good time to get them. Really, really good time to get them. All right. Did you watch any of the baseball last night? The Phillies? Man, what a game. What a game. What an atmosphere that was last night.
I just can't help but be so jealous of the atmospheres around the league. I don't want to get into it really, because it just makes me sad. But I mean, playoff baseball, man, the atmosphere helps so much, and it helps these teams, I think. I mean, Philadelphia, for my money, has got to be the best atmosphere in baseball. I know there was all this debate about the Braves and the Phillies, but that Red Army or whatever
Atlanta's
they call
pretty
it.
Good.
Atlanta's pretty good, but that Red Army in Philly or whatever they call it.
Citizens Bank, yeah.
And I got to tell you this, just Bryce Harper, man, I feel like maturing and getting older, at least for me, is understanding his talent and understanding how much of a leader he is and how important he is to the game of baseball. Like when he came through the ranks, I was like screaming he's overrated. I'm tired of seeing him. All this stuff. What has he done? And I don't know. Ever since he's gotten to Philly, he's matured a little bit, obviously, and he takes on the identity of that city. You can tell he loves playing in Philly. And what a big player or big game player he is. I mean, well worth the $400 million or whatever they gave him.
Yeah.
Trey Turner, ever since they gave him that standing ovation like 2 months ago when he was really struggling, has turned back into Trey Turner. And then Nick Castellanos, first player in MLB history to hit 2 home runs, in back-to-back games in the postseason, an absolute bomb. So, I mean, those 3 guys right there, you talk about star power. How much more do you need?
Last night I turned over from the football game, which was dreadfully boring. Oh my, can you imagine like saying a baseball game 10 times better than watching Mahomes?
I can't watch
Chelsea?
Denver. I can't watch Denver
So
in
bad.
anything.
How about Sean Payton last night, not knowing it was 4th down?
Yeah, and admitting it too.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of the game. They lost they had no shot to win on that last drive because of that field goal.
Yeah, they gave up a 60-yard field goal because he screwed it up.
Not that they were really going to do anything.
Yeah, but that's inexcusable, man.
It is.
What are these coaches doing, man? This is like elementary stuff.
Can we just admit, based on what we've seen, how difficult things are for the Patriots, how difficult things are turning into being for the Steelers, and now how difficult things are turning out to be in Denver. Quarterbacks make head coaches.
Yeah.
Let's just call it like it is.
The combination thereof.
Head coaches.
Yep.
Because Sean Payton, I mean, I'm thinking Drew Brees might be underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Payton has had no redeeming quality as a head coach so far in Denver, and all that stuff he talked about Hackett was at least 2-4 through his first 6 games. Sean Payton's 1-5, and the defense is they played really good last night, but I think, Kansas City looked like they were playing with their food a little bit.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be completely candid there. But, Denver's offense, Russell Wilson, this is sad at this point. He just doesn't scare me at all.
No, and I thought that would be a marriage made in heaven, those two, and see if, and eventually maybe it'll click. I don't know, but that looked really, really bad last night. And boring. It's boring football. Like Russell's not even trying to throw the ball down the field.
They just have no
zero.
I don't know what they're trying to do. I will say there was a moment there in the 4th quarter where he started scrambling a little bit and running.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they started getting first downs and they were moving.
He's got to do that.
He's got to do more of that. I don't know why they're trying to have him sit back there and stand and bang and throw 35. That's not his game. It was never his game in Seattle. Like this whole let Russ cook thing. There's a reason clearly why Pete Carroll was like, no, we're not going to do that. And I think Denver needs to realize that now because they have the worst future in the NFL, JP. They have the worst future in the NFL. They don't have many good star players. They traded all their draft capital for Russell Wilson and
That was
Sean
such
Payton.
a terrible. You can't. This trading of draft capital for quarterbacks has got to stop. I mean, the Trey Lance deal. I'll go back to Sam Bradford. Russell
RG3?
Wilson, RG3. It's ridiculous. Like GMs, look, I know quarterback's important. I know it's important. But I'll tell you what, if you told me you could have the best offensive and defensive line in football or the best quarterback, I would take. So that's like, you would take Mahomes. Look, Mahomes couldn't win the Super Bowl when his offensive line was beat up. Couldn't do it. I mean, it's crazy to give up everything for these guys. And especially, and if there wasn't enough, information that Russell Wilson was washed, I mean, my God, you're just not paying attention. And Trey Lance, it played like 6 games in college. It's just like, what are they doing? But
I don't know. To bring it back to the Bucs, I guess it's just I see all these quarterbacks, whether it's Daniel Jones or Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. I see the way these guys are playing, Derek Carr, and I couldn't be more, thankful that the Bucs have a quarterback at $4 million plus incentives.
Yeah, and we're going to get through this season building towards the future. Yeah, building towards the future with young players. And I think this is going to be something moving forward, right? Instead of paying Danny Dimes $40 million, right, which I guess is the going rate for if you're going to pick up a next contract, are there going to be some smart quarterbacks? And maybe Baker will do this and say, you know what, like you get a Geno deal. Yeah, I'll take 75 guaranteed over the next 3 years. 90, 89. You pay me $25 million, not $55 million. Let's put a team around me. That's enough money. Let's keep a team around me. I know I'm not great enough to be transcendent, Patrick Mahomes, and drive this bus, but I'm good enough that if you give me some help around me and pay the rest of my teammates, we can go do some business. And I think that's what Tom Brady did in his later years. Why not?
There's about 4 or 5 quarterbacks, maybe 6 in the league that I think you can pay top dollar for and get your return on investment.
Yeah, but that elevate everybody.
Everybody, but asking Daniel Jones, to do that.
Yeah,
crazy. I mean, he had no special quality, horrible offensive line, not great skill weapons. I mean, you're asking for what's happened this year in New York.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So maybe Baker's smart enough to do that. I think he is, and wouldn't that be great? And you're just paying a quarterback a reasonable wage, and you can surround him with some good players.
And if Baker Mayfield pans out this year and this continues, and they make the postseason, and they decide, you know what, we're going to roll with Baker in the future, he's not going to get $40 million. You know, he might get the Geno. He might get a similar deal to what Geno Smith got.
And I think that's going to be, and look where Seattle is right now, especially with all those draft picks. Holy hell.
Look at everything they've added around it, and Geno is still balling. I mean, I think that's the blueprint.
Before we go, Richie P, thanks for the $100 donation to the program. You are awesome, my friend. Thank you so much. That really, really helps us, and we can move forward. And he says this: Tampa's bringing a women's pro soccer team. They will be playing at Blake High School. It'll be interesting to see how they do in attendance. I wouldn't hold my breath. Daryl Shaw and the Laxers, and love those folks, but women's pro soccer in Tampa, maybe we'll see.
Well,
Blake High School's a nice venue.
Didn't they put out the design thing of what they
it looks really cool.
It looks really nice.
Cool. Yeah. But as my friend said over at, Orlando has the pro women's soccer league team over there, the Orlando Pride, I think it is.
Right.
What they call? Yeah. He said, we bring in 5 national team players and there's like 1,500 people in the stands. I just don't know if it's going to resonate. I don't know if it's going to resonate. Yeah. Hope so. I'm all for it.
I did see a lot of people that were how excited they were though for the Lightning, playing a day game like that during the week, and hours before puck drop, Thunder Alley was packed.
1:00 in the afternoon. You couldn't move. Interesting.
And they showed those shots on TV on ESPN, and it looked really, really good.
Yeah, interesting. Those people in Hillsborough County found a way to come out in the middle of the afternoon. Interesting. It wasn't a playoff game either. All right, great job, Nick. Our thanks to Pat Burnham, who joined us today to talk some Florida State football extensively. If you missed that and you're an FSU fan, you got to go check that out. Have a great weekend, everybody. Go Bucs. I'll be doing a post-game show with Peter Blake about 20-25 minutes after the game, live from Raymond James Stadium. So check that out on all the same places you check this show out. Richie P, thanks for the donation. Appreciate that. Please subscribe to all of our social media and our podcast. Go Bucs this weekend. Go Lightning. They're on the road. We'll have wrap it all up for you on Monday morning. Thanks. Have a great weekend, everybody.